Hello and welcome to this webinar where we'll tell you everything about what you can do to ensure nobody messes up with your doc design. My name is Lupke Ramesh. I'm the Community Marketing Manager here at Folian, and I'm very excited to host this webinar. We'll take about 20 minutes. There are two people live in the chat, Adele and Mike, and this webinar is pre-recorded, but yes, we are very happy to answer your questions, so keep them coming. As an expert today, we have Wessel van Berkel join us. He's a digital designer in the professional services team, and you may know him from either the Wessel on Wednesday LinkedIn series that we host on our Folian LinkedIn account, or maybe you've seen one or more of his doc design review courses on the Folian Academy, or who knows, maybe you've worked with him as part of your onboarding or other services that you've used through the professional services team. Wessel, welcome. It's really great to have you here today. Could you share something about the meetings and conversations that you have with our customers?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, it's lovely to be here, right? I'm very excited. So when it comes to my actual customer contact, it varies quite a bit. So on one hand, do have a lot of customer contact on project base. So when we are collaborating on a specific project together. But on the other hand, a bit more on the educational side of things, I do have a lot of customer contact as well when it comes to either the onboarding, where we get to help some people that joined Folion recently kind of kickstart their Folion career a little bit more, and make sure that they catch up to speed a little bit quicker, and make sure that they are creating a lot of branded content on a very quick base. On the other hand, we have some more advanced sessions where we do things like advanced design trainings and Q&As, a bit more the end of the spectrum, where people already are creating a lot of content, but they want to make sure how can we optimize that process and how can we heighten the level of design a little bit more.
That's great. And as part of all the meetings that you have, can you maybe share an example of a conversation where you talked to a customer and you realized that they really had a need to protect their design?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, funnily enough, about 3 weeks-ish ago, I had a call with a customer. It was an onboarding call as well, so an onboarding consultation. It was with a customer in the IT industry, and we had a quick chat about basically normally what we do during those sessions is we work on their first piece of content together, right? So they already have a lot of pieces of content floating around within the company, and we take one of their more important documents and we use that as their first use case within Folion, and trying to, as we like to say, Folionize their piece of content to kind of help them out there a little bit more. Now, as we do, I prepared for that call as well. I had a look through the document that they shared with me. It looks great. But then the moment that I hopped on the call with them, I normally confirm, is this the actual document that you meant to share with us? And they mentioned, yeah, this is actually the document that we shared with you, but this was actually created by our sales team, by a sales rep as a sales pitch deck type of document. And there's a lot of elements in there that actually are fully outside of our brand. They had a lot of circle elements and a lot of circular shapes floating throughout the design, and that was really not part of their brand. So they said, can you please try to ignore that? And that is one of the honestly many instances where I get to collaborate with customers where I think it would be great to kind of touch upon that. How can we protect your very valuable brand a little bit more?
That is interesting. And I I'm in marketing, so I don't talk to customers all the time, but what I hear from customer success managers and others in the company that do is that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of our current customers could actually have similar stories, even though they have been fully onboarded with Folian for a while. Can you maybe explain why customers or companies need to think about other people not messing up their designs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important, right? Design integrity is essential because your content reflects who you are as a brand, and also, of course, what you stand for from a company perspective. So when too many people can actually edit or change the design, and then especially people without a solid understanding of the visual guidelines that you have set up for your brand, you risk inconsistencies, off-brand layouts, and a fragmented experience for your audience, which of course is really quite the opposite of what we're trying to do with any piece of content that we're bringing out.
Nice. And then how do you see that our customers do protect their brand? Like what methods or ways? Um, yeah. How do you see they do it?
Yeah, so normally we see about two main ways that people kind of protect their brand, as to say, and it kind of normally depends a little bit more on the size of the company. So on one hand, we have where they kind of want to keep the content creation within one central team, and that is the main team that then is going to be creating all of the content, processing all of the changes, etc. That is normally a road that we see that is paved by people that have a slightly smaller company that don't really have the sizing to need to scale up. They can kind of manage their entire content production with a relatively more smaller team. Now that is where you do sometimes get those issues that I just mentioned about the sales rep that starts adding circles into your design, right? But on the other hand, and that is normally for slightly larger companies or people that really want to protect their brand a little bit more, we see something that is a bit more on the fragmented type of content creation, where we kind of give everyone within the organization their own little role to play within the creation of content that we are doing to make sure that we kind of utilize everyone's strengths and make sure we kind of streamline the process a little bit, right? And that is what we normally see for, again, larger companies or for people that really want to protect their brand a little bit more.
Nice. And then, as this is a webinar where I expect a lot of designers or maybe the managers of design teams to be watching, how does the role of a designer change once they start thinking about how they can get that sales rep or entire sales team or multiple teams or the HR department, or like how does their role change once non-designers start to create content?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of depends on which routes you're going to be taking there, right? We have that fully centralized and that fully decentralized way of working. Looking at that centralized way of working, their content creation process doesn't necessarily change much. They are going to be the designated people within the company that are going to be creating all the content. But that also means that apart from setting up that initial structure, they're also going to be the ones that are going to be filling the content, reviewing the content, iterating on that content, and also sadly enough, processing changes like, hey, we forgot a period here. Hey, we have some grammatical changes that need to be applied. So that on one hand, your position wouldn't change much, but that is a method that we tend to see is not really scalable for a company that is really trying to grow outside of the box that they are currently fitting within. On the other hand, for that more decentralized way of content creating, we do not necessarily see the process of designing change very much. We do kind of see it more rescope, as we like to say. So instead of creating every single bit of custom content, you kind of need to see it as they are going to be the people that are going to be delivering every single puzzle piece that is needed to create a wide variety of different use cases for the rest of the company to use and be like, "Ooh, the designer created this lovely bank of templates for me. I need this one, and this one." And the designer doesn't need to be part of that content anymore. But because the designer is going to deliver those assets and those puzzle pieces, as I like to say, um, it empowers the rest of the company to fully create on-brand content without the need for a direct designer.
Yeah. And that does sound like a much more scalable approach, where I think you've got to set it up in a quite strategic way so you don't get all those requests back on your plate as a designer. What are some of the things that Folian can support customers that want to work in that more scalable approach? Or what do you recommend designers, design teams, those responsible for the brand, set up in order to achieve that?
Yeah, of course. So there's a few different sections that we can kind of help out with that more scalable approach, right? And the main one, I already kind of mentioned it, is going to be the needs to be able to create those little puzzle pieces, right? Those templates, as we call them. Those templates are basically going to empower um, people that are going to be or non-creatives more to actually be able to create that content. And that is something that we can set up within the editor as well. The only thing that we need to keep in mind from a design perspective is that we just make sure that we set those up properly, right? That we set those up for success. So then we're looking at making sure that our spacing and our white space is going to be consistent. And we're looking at making sure that everything that we're creating already works responsibly within Folion. Naturally, we scale to every single screen size already, right? A lot of desktop variations, but also tablet and mobile. So if we create a template where we have a bit of an awkward transition from desktop to mobile, and we use that template 20 times over, and we might need to tweak that slightly, we need to tweak that now 20 times over. So that is one of the main things that we kind of need to set up beforehand, before we actually empower the rest of the company to work on that, right? Then after that, it kind of splits again in that two road where we have the centralized creation, where the designer is going to be handling everything, right? And then we look at features like, for example, the review mode, where we do add in every stakeholder within the company that has a little bit of a hand in creating that content, and they can simply pop into their designs and place little comments, right? Saying like, hey, can we change this title to XYZ? Can we change this image to? Can we change the structure of this a little bit more? And that does allow for a lot of collaboration within the company, but it isn't scalable again across a larger format, just because if we only have that one single person that is going to be working on the entire uh, all of the content creation, they will also need to handle all of those comments while working on the next document and another document that they're working on. So this is again more important when it comes to either a lower level of content creation where you don't necessarily produce that much content on a regular basis, or for just simply smaller teams. I think that would work out really well.
Yeah. Although with the review mode, you could involve everyone as contributors to the content and
Yeah,
get
100%.
the subject matter expertise in there as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. Well, just to kind of like interrupt the vessel's flow, I want to just ask you all a question. So, if you would like to explore the ways that your organization can improve the way of working around protecting your brand, protecting your designs, um, I'll just open a poll question. So let us know if you want to keep talking with us one-on-one to explore the different ways that your company can improve and level up their brand protection. Nice. Well then, Wessel, back to you. Are there, besides setting up your templates and brand kit and using review mode, are there other ways that our customers should, yeah, set up their brand, set up their docs, set up their the platform. Think about in their designs, like anything else that you want to share with us.
Of course, yeah, 100%. I mainly focus a little bit more on that smaller side, right, where we do create either a little bit less content or we are working with less resources. But there are also a lot of customers that we have that actually do have a lot more resources, that do have a lot of content that needs to be brought out. And for those people, I would advise a few different things. So one is definitely going to be everyone that you add into your account overall, make sure you set up their user roles properly. We have an entire plethora of kind of pick your options for what you want people to be able to do within the editor, and that can be elements simply like they can change the entire design. That is normally where we add in designers, creative directors, anything like. But we can also just simply add someone in the platform to be a simple reviewer, or to have someone just in the platform as a more standard level user where they can exchange text and images. But when it comes to the actual structure and building that up, that has to be more done by the design side, but they can use everything that the design side created to empower them to create their own content. So that is normally where we see people, for example, like the sales representatives live, where they do need to churn out a lot of or crank out a lot of sales proposals, for example, and you don't every time that you want to have a sales proposal go through a designer, right? That is normally where we see people set up as a standard user, where they can use structures and docs and templates that have been built by that design team to then build their own sales pitch with a few clicks. They just need to exchange text, and then they should be good to go. So apart from setting those user roles up properly, and this is a bit more on the design end side, right? The moment that we have created something that we are really proud of and we kind of want to protect from a perspective where you are aware of all of you have a full understanding of the visual guidelines that have been set up by your company, right? Then the moment that you have a structure that fully adheres to that, but you do have some sections in that page that needs to be edited, not necessarily by you, but by anyone within the company. Those sections you can just simply leave as they are and allow for people to edit those. But sections that you don't necessarily want to be touched and that have been set up in a very particular way, you want to make sure that it sticks to that, we can simply lock content. And lock content is basically just a way that we can lock content for everyone that is not going to be a premium user, as we like to say. So that is going to be designers, admins, editors, anyone that has a lot of rights within the actual Folion space. they can still edit those document or those parts of the document, but the people that have the more standard responsibility within your folio and workspace, they are not necessarily able to edit that directly. And then if we want to kind of loop back a little bit on what we talked about before, which is of course going to be the templates section, where we can take a bit of a document or an entire page or an entire document and turn that into a template. For example, a lot of sales pitches or pitch decks or brochures tend to have an about us type of structure, for example. And using that as templates is always, of course, going to be great. That is going to be very effective. But then if you're going to need to make a slight change to something like that, let's say that, oh, we are currently located in Amsterdam, right? And you're putting that throughout 20 different documents. But you move office, you then need to go through all of those 20 different documents and change that Amsterdam to wherever you're going to be moving, right? I think we should look into something more like global content modules. And this is basically a way that we can set up it's very much alike a template, because we would kind of use it as a template. We would just drag it into our pages and kind of have it live there. But instead of being able to make changes to it in that particular instance, we kind of have a parent-child relationship where the moment that we make a change to that parent, those changes are reflected in the child versions of that specific section of the doc. And that is the way that we can also set up a lot of content creation very, very quickly. Again, having that central management more of managing that piece of content there.
That's amazing. That sounds like a solid 5 ways to protect your brand and to make sure nobody messes with your design, where you could even pick and choose based on what kind of serves the content creation process in your organization. So yeah, just to really quickly repeat: 1, templates and brand kit; 2, review mode; 3, set up your user roles properly; 4, locked content; and 5, global content modules. This is amazing, Vessel. Is there any final bonus tip or anything else people need to think about?
Yes, absolutely. And this kind of goes for both of those routes. That is, whether you are that central point of creation, whether you are empowering the rest of the company to create their own way of content. To any documents, we can always add an approval flow, as we like to say, that basically allows you to set up a specific set of conditions, a little checklist that needs to be checked before the document needs to go live. And that can be a variety of things that you want to check off there, but that allows you to set some guardrails a little bit more before someone actually fully goes live with their content. And that is a great way to make sure that unwanted content doesn't necessarily go live without being seen by the right pair of eyes.
That's amazing. So no more wrong publishes or content that shouldn't be out there being out there. It's a quality control. This is amazing. Vessel, anything you haven't shared with us so far?
I don't think so. I think it would be great if we quickly hop into the edit and actually show a little bit of those 5 features that we just talked about, just to show you how quick and easy we can actually set that up. This is a great block that we can use, a very basic structure for an introduction to a document, right? This would be a great example of something that we can save as a template, just something that we want to save a little bit more over and over again. And all that we need to do that is press this little guy here. I can zoom in a little bit, I think. There we go. That's save as a template. The moment that we click on that, it allows us to give this template name, add it to a category, and use it across a lot of different places. Now, this doesn't only empower us to use it in an instance where this is the exact structure that we are, or the exact look that we are looking for, but a lot of companies that we know are either working for a different company, or they have a collaboration, or they have a slightly different branding internally than externally. So we're not necessarily looking at this in the way that it looks, but let's say that someone wants to use this exact structure for an internal document. All that they will need to do is empower that same tip, the brand kit in this case, go under menu, select the brand kit that they want to use, apply that, and that immediately overrides kind of everything that we've built, but that structure still stays the same, but it empowers everyone that needs a particular content piece to get a specific structure, but with their own twist of branding on there, depending on, of course, again, what is set up for them on the user level, right? That is a very important one there. So the other one that I wanted to quickly look at is going to be that review mode. So now that we have something like this, all that we need to do is pop into the review mode here, or this might be the only place where you have the user rights to go into, but we can simply go, actually, this is not the person that we want to have introduced. So I can just simply click here. Can we change this to be me? And this can then either be picked up by the designer. This can either be picked up by an editor, because it's a relatively simple change, right? And that would be a great way to kind of collaborate a little bit more on the doc level without having too many cooks in the kitchen working on the same document there. The other one that I wanted to quickly look at, and I think we can demo very, very quickly, is going to be simply locked content. So all that I'll need to do is pop it back into the editor here and have no one touch this doc or this block specifically anymore. All that I need to do is just go into the block settings here and see this little tag at the bottom, lock content and styling. I'll just pop that little guy. There we go. And this now doesn't allow me anymore to edit that entire section. Now, of course, because I have a slightly higher rights within the account here, I can simply go back in, tag that setting off, and then change whatever I need to change, and then make sure I lock the door behind me and make sure that no one edits that block anymore after me. So that is, again, a way that we can kind of section that off a little bit more. Now, the exact same, and I will stop sharing for a second, when it comes to those templates, it is going to work the exact same way for modules, right? So we have set up that template. We can very quickly and easily use that. But if we just very quickly want to see how can we actually get those modules working, I can very briefly show this screen right here. And on the left-hand side, we will see here under our templates tab, we will see modules. The moment that I click on that, we can see all of the modules that I'm using. And this would be a great place to kind of set up things that would change, right? A surprising title, in this case, 99 happy employees. Maybe you hire someone new. We can just change that number from a central place, which would be the modules tab here, to 100, and it would update in every single place where we've used it. And that is the way that we can section off our entire content creation, empower everyone to create content, but make sure that we, on a nuclear level, stay very much on brand and create a lot of consistent styled content.
Vessel, this is amazing. Thank you so much. The demo definitely made everything you've shared with us come to life. Vessel, thank you so much for being our expert speaker. You have so much expertise. I think we could go on forever. But just in case you're watching and you're like, oof, I want to know more. I want to discuss how this can actually benefit my team, my organization. Just reach out to your customer success manager, or we will reach out to you based on your poll answer. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be sending you an email where you can watch the on-demand, share it with your team, maybe even discuss these possibilities with your coworkers. And also we'll include a link to the next webinar because we're hosting webinars regularly, and it would be great to see you at the next one. Vessel, thank you again for being our expert speaker. Everyone online, thank you so much as well. And we'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Bye.